All right, Lions fans, we are a couple days late, but we are not short on our recap on the Lions' second loss of the season to the Kansas City Chiefs. It was a 30-17 loss. This game was really a tale of two tapes, as they used to say. The first half, even though the Chiefs were up 13-10 at the half, I still think that the Lions did a very good job in the first half. I thought that the offense looked good, especially on that first drive. 10 minutes. They took 10 minutes off the clock in the first quarter, leaving very little time for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to work on the field. Even though it did not take them long to march down the field, I did like the game plan to start out. They were going to complete passes, run the ball, milk the clock, and sometimes the best defense is a good offense, meaning that it was good for the Lions to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. And it did seem that that was the key to the game. That was the key to what they wanted to do, was to score and to keep him off of the field. But then in the second half, everything fell apart. The offense just wasn't clicking. There were drops. There were momentum killers out there. There were stalled drives. And then the defense, all the injuries, I believe, on the defense began to show itself. It began to rear its head, and it caused the Lions to lose the game. So let's look at the game, and let's start with, you know what? Let's start with the offense. Since I started out with how the offense played, let's look at what the offense actually did. 17 points for a team that's used to putting up about 30 points. They were about 13, 14 points short of their norm. On offense, Jared Goff, in my opinion, had another good game. 23 out of 29. He completed, he had 203 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and again, no interceptions. He did have a sack. I thought that Jared Goff, I can't put it on Jared Goff for losing this game. I thought that Jared Goff was sharp. You see 23 for 29 tells you that he was hitting his guys. He wasn't overthrowing, underthrowing. Of course, with 6 misses, there's going to be some, off wobbly throws here and there. But for the most part, Jared Goff played a pretty good game. Good job managing the game. Unfortunately, what he did in the first half did not continue over in the second half. As for the running backs, the Lions combined for 98 yards. To me, this is where the Lions lost the game on offense. The Lions are all about the run game. And you see right here, 98 yards total is not going to cut it. 65 for Gibbs, 24 for Montgomery, 7 for Goff, 2 for Amon-Ra St. Brown, total 98 yards on 23 carries with a 4.3 average. That's not going to get it done. The Lions offense is built on the play action, and you can't really use a play action if the run game is not in sorts. As for the offensive line, I would have to say that they did a decent job. I mean, Jared Goff was sacked one time. And as I always mentioned before, I have a counter going off in my head. So whenever the quarterback snaps the ball, I'm counting 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. I mean, there were times I got to 4 and 5 seconds, and Jared Goff still had the ball in his hand, wasn't pressured, and was able to get the ball out. As for the receivers, Jameson Williams, they started out hot, going to him often and early. 6 receptions, 66 yards with a touchdown. Sam Laporta had a nice game, 5 for 55 and a touchdown. 9 for Amon-Ra St. Brown for 45 yards. But as I mentioned, this game is built around the run game. And if they could have ran the ball better, then it would have opened up more on the passing game. So I can't necessarily, I don't know if I want to say that it was just good Chiefs defense in that second half, good adjustments, or did the offense just stall? I know some of you on Twitter were saying that you thought that it was John Morton's fault, that he called a terrible game in the second half. Was it that, or was it just that the Chiefs defense adjusted? As for the Lions defense, the Lions, they gave up 30 points. This is like the Lions defense of old, but this is what I want to point out. There are tons of injuries out there. Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch each were not 100%. Kirby Joseph had to lead the game at one point and go into the tent, which I'm sure they gave him a shot because he came out walking on that knee, jogging on that knee, and ultimately running on that knee before going back in the game. And he made the first tackle immediately when he got back in the game. So they definitely gave him a shot of something. But let's look at what the Lions defense did before we look at the defense as a whole. let's look at what they did, what the Chiefs did with them. Patrick Mahomes, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Running game, I would say the Lions did a good job again. I mean, they did go over 100 yards, 112, but it took 4 runners for them to get there. They did have a touchdown rushing. The receivers weren't exactly cooking. I mean, Kelsey had a kind of a sneaky 6 receptions, 78 yards. I kind of only remember seeing him catch 2 or 3 passes, but he had 6. And the next highest guy would have been Hollywood Brown, who had 2 touchdowns with on only 4 catches and 45 yards. So it's very clear that Mahomes was swinging the ball around, which reminds me, I'm sorry, I got to jump back over on the Lions offense real quick. When are they going to get Tesla involved in the offense? I'm looking over here and I see that I don't even think he had a target. Listen, we traded Tim Patrick for him. Let's go ahead and use the kid and get him out there. You know what I'm saying? They need to get something set up for him. But back to the Chiefs offense. So, I mean, it wasn't overly bad by the Lions defense. It really was just some miscues. If you look at the Lions statistically on defense, they were led by Alex Anzalone's 12 tackles, followed by Brian Branch, who also had a sack. I'm sorry, Jack Campbell. I misspoke. Brian Branch had 7 tackles. DJ Reader had a good game. I would like to say, he was really doing a good job clogging that middle. Followed by Rock Ya-Sin, Kirby Joseph, and Derek Barnes, who had 4 tackles each. The Lions actually had 3 sacks. Let me see, one by Al-Qadim Muhammad, one by Jack Campbell, as I mentioned, and one by Aiden Hutchinson. So if I'm not mistaken, that brings Hutch up to 6 for the season. He continues to be in his MVP, Defensive Player of the Year form. Looking at the stats, it looks like the Lions were kind of all over the place, but I think one of the biggest issues, and I will go back up here to the Chiefs receivers, is why I think that Mahomes is able to spread the ball out more, is that the Lions are really hurting in the secondary, and it's not going to help that Brian Branch is going to be suspended for the game coming up this week against the Buccaneers, Monday Night Football against the Buccaneers, for a team that was already hurting on defense and already hurting with DB. So now we're going to have someone start in the place of Maddox or somebody start in the place of Branch. You're going to have a wobbly Kirby Joseph out there. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think any of the top 3 corners are even going to be back. So the Lions are going to be in for a rough one against the Buccaneers. Not to mention the Buccaneers are a top 5, top 7 team. Let me look at special teams and see how the Lions did. My guy Jake Bates went 1 for 1 on a 28-yard field goal. Jack Fox had 3 punts, averaging 46 yards. That's, like I've always said, you want your punter to at least be 45 yards and up. And the Lions had a total of 140 yards on kick returns, which is not really a good thing because that means that the other team kicked the ball to you quite a bit. They had 6 kick returns, 140 yards, with 118 of them coming from Craig Reynolds. So special teams, looked okay. Overall, I don't think, at least not yet, there's a lot to worry about when it comes to the Lions. I think that you could chalk it up as a bad game, a bad half, because as I said, I know they were down by 3 at halftime, but I still think the Lions looked good in the first half. I just think that, like last year, the injuries are going to catch up. But here's the good news, though, guys, for the Lions. It's being predicted that by week 10, so let me see, week 7 is coming up, week 8 is a bye. Then week 9, if I remember right, is at home against the Vikings. So by week 10, the Lions, I want to say that's going up against the Eagles, are supposed to be back at full strength. They're saying that Lee McNeil could possibly be back. Rodriguez could be back. Tyrion Arnold could be back. DJ Reed could be back. Khalil Dorsey could be back. And maybe even Marcus Davenport. So they're saying that it's predicted that by week 10, the Lions could actually be back to full strength. The key really is just going to be grinding it out, gutting it out against the Buccaneers this coming Monday, going into the bye week. Hopefully that will get them healthy. And then maybe not needing all those guys against the Vikings that next week, but going full strength when they go to Philadelphia, which will be week 10. All right, Lions fans, that's pretty much all that we have on this one. Listen, it's the NFL. Losses happen, but it's not the end of the season just yet. Give us your thoughts on the Lions. Were you impressed with how they played, and what disappointed you on offense, defense, coaching, What disappointed you? If you haven't already, on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can keep talking Lions football. You see on the bottom of our screen right there, you see our Twitter/X page, and you see our TikTok page. Do us a favor if you haven't already, go over there, give us a follow, and share this. Share this with your friends, your family members who are Lions fans or just football fans in general, so we can keep this thing growing. All right, Lions fans, we took it on the chin, but hey, it is what it is. On to Tampa Bay. That's all for this one. Until next time, peace.